everybody. Welcome back to part two of my family history. I'm your girl, Melanin Audacity, and this is my new channel. Thank you for watching. Let's get to the specifics. Let's get all the business out of the way. You see the red subscribe button. Click that. And right next to it is a little bell. Click that. That way you'll be notified when I upload all the rest of the videos that I'll be putting on the channel. And how you'll get it is if you set up your YouTube account and you have to enable the notifications, whether that be by text message or email, then you'll automatically get a text or email when I upload a new video. So you can also follow me on social media, Facebook, Melanin Audacity Nefertari, Instagram, I'm Melanin Audacity, and on Twitter, I'm also Melanin Audacity, and here on YouTube, I'm Melanin Audacity. So this video is part two. I hope you guys watched part one and you enjoyed it and you are coming along for the ride. But this is part two, where I'm going to get specific into the members of my ninth and 10th generation, my great, great, great grandparents. I need to start my PowerPoint slide. Give me a second. Un momento. I hope you guys are having a wonderful and blessed day today. Yep, right on target. Okay. So I'll give it a second for it to kick over so you guys can see it. So, like I said in my part one video, as I tell the story of my family history, I will incorporate significant historical events of the times as they apply to the Black American experience, all the way through time up to and including today. I will compare differences and similarity to show how things have changed and how they've stayed the same for over 400 years. So let's start first by getting a general understanding of our history and the history of this country by joining me on this journey as I take you all the way back to the American Revolutionary War, all the way up to the Black Lives Matter movement, which I covered in part one. I mean, I didn't cover all of that in part one, but this is just my generic intro. So, so as of today is May 5th, 2021. I represent the 14th generation of my family here in America. If I were able to trace my lineage back to Africa, that number will increase, as far as the beginning of time. But for purposes of providing insight into our family history, into our family and our family history, I'm only using our time here in America, which is what date? If you know when the first slave came to America and where, drop that in the comments. The first one who does that will get acknowledged. I don't have any prizes right now. But that all change, as the channel grows, my donations grow, I'll be able to, give incentives. The other part that I forgot to mention before I move on here and explain this slide is that I want this to be interactive, meaning that if there's a topic that you're interested in and you want to talk with me about it or get my perspective, my contact information will be in the description box below. Just send me an email and we can set up a date. We'll pick a topic. I have tons of topics that I intend to cover. We can go through those and you can pick one. But I do want it to be interactive. So I want guests if and when possible. So that was something I left out at the beginning. So let me move back on and explain this slide. I know a lot of you are probably wondering what this all means. So, for this is an example, right? Every person, right, has two parents, four grandparents, eight great grandparents, and 16 great great grandparents, and 32 great great grandparents. If and it's more again if you start moving back to the beginning of time, but that's a whole nother story. So the total is 16,384 ancestors before me here in America. since 1619. And uh, for my ninth and 10th generation, of that 16,000, they represent 32. So 32 plus, as we move forward, at the end of the video, I'll have a total number for you with regard to, out of that 16,384, how many of them are still alive, you know what I mean? And how many of them were slaves, which is probably 16,000 um 200 and something. I can kind of guess that because I don't have 100. Well, with my father's side, maybe so, maybe 16,150. So but I'll have that. I just thought of, that would have been a great number to have, but it just came to me as I'm recording, so I don't have the information. So 16,384 ancestors before me. So this particular video begins with my ninth generation. There are a total of 32 ancestors. 18 were slaves, 14 were free-ish, to put in perspective. I will drop the link below to the article that I used to come up with this information. It was very helpful. You may find it helpful and useful for you when it'll tell you how to calculate how many ancestors, and it is approximate, but you need to start somewhere and have some type of number. It'll be in the description box. Um, my journey begins in the mid 1800s with my great 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 grandparents, or with my ninth and 10th generations. 8 generations before them were slaves held in this country against their will to perform hard labor, which generated enormous wealth to white Anglo Saxon Europeans who conquered this land, now known as the United States of America, by brutal force against the Aborigine indigenous peoples of Americas and or Native Americans, or whatever they called themselves before being named by the white man. And this all occurred as early as the 15th and 16th centuries. In any event, and to put this in perspective, of the 16 generations, only 3 generations allegedly lived free, including me. My great 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 grandparents, Alec and Nettie Nelson, Bankes and Harriet Bannister, and my great great grandparents, S. and Sarah O'Bannon, on my dad's side, were born slaves, as did all those before them. My great grandmother's name is May Catherine Montgomery. She was born in 1886. She was 54 in 1940, according to the 1940 census. This is my great grandfather's mother. My great great grandparents' names are Alec Bannister and Nettie Nelson. Do you see that in the slide? Alec and Nettie here, where it follow my pointer. Um, those are my great great grandparents. Grandma Catherine, right? Grandma Catherine here, Catherine Nelson Montgomery. She was widowed by 1954 and 68 years old, and lived next door to my great grandparents and my grandmother on a farm or a plantation. They paid $2 for rent. She was married the first time at age 12, and she had 13 children. This was the first time I heard this, and I found it through, it was written on the census, which I was able to find doing some research. Um, According to the 1940 census. So this means that my great grandfather, George Montgomery, has 12 brothers and sisters, maybe. Um, I can't put too much into census records, as I don't believe the census takers cared enough to be accurate. Besides, there's no way to confirm anything anyway. I don't there I'm 100% sure they didn't have ID cards and paperwork like that back in the day. But look at the record that I found. This is a copy of the 1870 census, where my great 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 grandfather Alec was listed. He lived in Darlington, South Carolina, and his race is listed as mulatto. So I'm not sure how clear, how you're watching this on the phone. I'm sure you cannot see this if you're watching on a tablet or a laptop, maybe. And if you're lucky enough to have YouTube on these smart TVs, you may be able to make some of this out. It's handwritten. Look at the script and stuff. This is an actual page from the census book that I found online. Again, you got to pay for these services, right? My ninth and tenth generation great grandparents. My grandpa Kippy, his mother and father were Bankus and Harriet Bannister. Right, I was able to find this is my great grand. This is my great grandmother's father and his mother and father. Hence, the ninth generation is here. Bankus and Harriet represent the ninth generation. Kippy Bannister represents the 10th generation. My 10th generation great grandfather's name was Kippy, right? He was born in 1881 or 1884 or 1890. He died May 3rd in 1961 at the age of 80. He died of a cerebral vascular accident or stroke, I think that is. And he also suffered from Alzheimer's. So this is something new that I learned about my medical history, family medical history. My great great grandfather suffered from Alzheimer's disease. Um, and so that's something that we all can learn it once we start doing our own research into our own families. And if you're interested in some how I got the information, my email is there. Email me. I'll give you the places that I got information. And I just to let you know, it is a cost for it. So let me move on. Kippy Bannister is my great grandmother, Rachel. We called her Big Mama. He is her father. My my ninth generation great grandparents. I'm sorry, my ninth generation great grandmother's name is unknown. This is my great grandmother, Rachel's mother. So Big Mama's mama, we don't know her name. No one, I was unable to even get a name on her. And this is my grandmother's grandmother that we don't even know her name. So my 10th generation great great grandparents' names are uh, unknown as well, right? So for the 10th generation, I'm sorry, the ninth generation, I don't know that on either side of my. So this is all my maternal side, by the way. I'm starting with my maternal side. So I don't know my ninth generation or 10th great grandmother's name or her parents. Right. And you'll see how I put it all together shortly. So here's the census, a portion of it of the 1900 census where I located them. They lived on a farm in Utahville, South Carolina. Great grandpa Bankus, Bancus, he worked as a farmer. And my grandfather, Kippy, was 10. He went to school and he could read, write, and speak English according to the document. These are the death certificates of my great great grandparents. Kippy Bannister, who is my great grandma Rachel, Big Mama's dad, and great granddad Papa's mother. Right. So um, I highlighted, hopefully you can see his name is Kippy here. It has a date of death, which is how I got that information. And then here is where I got Bankus, Bannister, and Harriet, right? So that's how I knew who his mother and father, I'm sorry, his mother and father were. And then on this side, I have Catherine Montgomery, which is my big mama's, Rachel Montgomery's I'm sorry, George Montgomery's mother. This is Papa's mama and Mama's papa. And what's strange is, let me make sure that I'm clear about it. So when I'm talking about my great grandparents, my great grandmother and my great grandfather, Everybody has two parents, right? And I'll represent those with my fingers. Excuse my nails. Um, so for Papa, we knew his mother. This is the mother. We didn't know his father's name. For Mama, we knew her father and didn't. Ooh, this is messed up. I don't mean this, but this of the two fingers, this is her father. So of my great grandparents, two greats, I know the name of one parent, the mother, and the father of the other parent. So there's unknown parents name that I don't have or know at all in order to get more information about other members of the family and things of that nature, or just to identify them. So back to this slide. This is the 1930 census that lists my great granddad, his wife, and kids. Right. So I highlighted that. So here is Kippy Bannister. Um, and his children, right? But while doing the research, I recognized many of the children's names because I have lived with one of them for a while, only to now realize that the woman I know as my Aunt Belle was actually my great grandma Rachel's half sister, which explains why she, my great grandmother, Big Mama, Rachel, is not listed here as one of the children because she's a half sister to Isabel, who is listed here, along with her sisters, who I called my aunts, and still refer to them and love them as aunts as well. Those who I think most of them have already passed on, including my Aunt Belle. But anyway, not to speculate, but either my great granddad, who is Kippy Bannister, had my grandma Rachel during the previous relationship, or Papa was a Rolling Stone. And I believe that scenario was occurring a lot during these times. All right, moving on. Now let's take a look at my maternal grandfather's parents, who also represent my ninth and 10th generation great grandparents. So the first slides were of my grandmother, my mother's mother and father, and then their mothers and fathers. Right now, I'm looking at my grandfather's mother and father, just to put things in perspective. This is James Simmons Senior family. For those who of my family that are watching, um, this is uh, this is my great grandfather, Cuffy, uh, Kufi or Cuffy. I can't remember the pronunciation, and my cousin Lonnie will probably kill me because I'm saying it wrong. But I'll say Cuffy. Okay. Cuffy's parents. Their names are unknown. I've drawn a preliminary conclusion that they were either left in Africa or taken to another plantation in the US or another region of the world. According to, and I'll explain to you why I said that specifically. According to my cousin Lonnie, great grandpa Cuffy, and my grandma Lucy, along with my grandfather James and his siblings, arrived here straight from Sierra Leone and was taken to Cumming Tea Plantation in South Carolina. This is consistent to an extent with the research I found regarding the plantation owners, the Ball family. Any of my family that are watching that live in South Carolina in, I think it's Charleston County. I'm not really sure or what county that is, where Utahville is, or Orangeburg County. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm not sure, something like that. But the Ball family, which I'm sure they may still reside in that area, who over the course of 167 years owned more than 20 rice plantations in low country South Carolina, and enslaved nearly 4,000 Africans and African Americans or Black Americans. I'm not certain that Lucy was also from Sierra Leone, as she was documented in Charleston in 1880, along with her family, meaning her parents. She was listed as the child in 1880. And my great my grandfather was born in 1895, I believe. So I mean, yeah, I believe. I'm not sure, but we'll get to that. But I'm not sure that she came with them, or they met on a plantation, or some, because back then they were definitely, they were kind of just getting out of slavery, um and things of that nature. But I think that's how they met, at some point. This would mean that they did not um, experience slavery in America as long as my mother's grandparents. But then again, without all the information, I can only speculate that there were more generations on my mom's side, of my mom's family line, who suffered immensely as slaves than my grandfather's family. Next up, my ninth generation great grandparents and my great great grandparents. Right. My ninth generation great grandparents are London and Jane Barnett. Some docs have it spelled with one T, some have it with two. My 10th generation great grandmother, Lucy Barnett, right here. You can follow that. Lucy Barnett. um, London and Jane are her parents. What's unclear is if they were also straight from Sierra Leone or descendants of African slaves already here. But nonetheless, these are my grandfather, James Simmons Sr.'s mother's parents. I found Lucy and her parents on the 1880 census. Let me see if I have that. Yes. Okay. Um, I'm not sure again if you're looking at it on your phone, but right here is Lucy's name. Right there. That's my grandma. That's my grandma. So this 1880 census, along this is my grandma along with her siblings. I have no idea where these family members are. I didn't know they existed until I began this work. My grandma Lucy is the third one down, which I pointed to here. She was 24 years old in 1880, and a housekeeper. London and Jane, who are listed up top, right? They were both laborers. None of them could read or write. London, according to this, you can't see it, so I wrote it down. London was 48, Jane was 40, Lucy, Peter, Sarah, Christian, and Laura. So Lucy was 24, Peter was 21, Sarah was 16, Christian was 13, Laura was 4 months. I'll take a second here to say how a lot of these names are duplicated. So I have a grandma Lucy, a great grandmother on my mother's side named Lucy, and then my grandmother, my dad's mom's name is Lucy, and she has a son named Peter. And then on my father's side, my grandmother was also a Sarah. So I found a lot of similarities in names. So they had these specific names, I think, that were popular back then as well, and they just used them. So now let's look at the 1900 census. Cuffy or Koofy, Cuffy, Lucy, Hattie, James, which is my granddaddy, and a niece, Nancy Brown, are listed in this census. And they are right here. I forgot to put the bracket around it. So here, depending on what screen you're looking at, this is Cuffy, this is Lucy, this is Hattie, this is James, and then this is Nancy Brown. And the reason why I said niece, because here it asks the relationship in the family, it says niece. Okay, so for those on the Simmons side, James Simmons Sr. family, that's where I got that information from, the 1900 census. So if you know anything different, drop those comments down in the comment section and then let's have a conversation. Okay, moving along. Moving on to my ninth and 10th generation ancestors on my father's side of the family. As you can see, I am missing a lot of names and a connection to my family. My great great grandfather's name was S. O'Bannon, or S period O period, according to the 12th census in 1900. He was born 1850. In 1900, of course, that means he was 50 years old. He died before 1910, when and exactly his age at death is unknown. I was unable to find anything else on him, and I'm thinking it has something to do with the spelling of the name as we know it. I'm thinking that his real name is something else other than what we know. My great grandmother, I'm sorry, I need to take a swig of this Kool-Aid. I feel like I'm eating all my lipstick off. My great grandmother's name is Sarah O'Bannon. She was born in 1861. She is my great grandfather's mother. By the time the 1910 census rolled around, she was 49 and widowed. The census states she worked as a laundress, she owned her home, and my great grandfather Leslie was listed as being 21 years old, but he was really 18. He was the wage earner and worked at a lumber mill. He worked as a lumber mill laborer. So again, and looking at this, I don't have any of these names in just my great great S. O'Bannon and Sarah, which I got from my cousin Leslie, who's the great family tree person on my dad's side. He helped me as much as he could with what he knew. Shout out to Leslie O'Bannon. What's up, cousin? Okay, so moving along. This slide shows the 1900 census. So let's take a look. S and Sarah were the head of household, and these were their children at the time of 1900. Lena, Leslie, Sarah. So again, remember I said I had a Sarah as my grandmother. So she then also named her daughter Sarah. So I guess this is Sarah Jr. Alonzo, which I have a cousin Alonzo. Shout out to Alonzo, and Agnes. And these are their dates of birth and their age in 1900. Isn't that amazing? Okay, moving along. This is a copy of the 1900 census where I got that information. S. O'Bannon is listed, however, in the 1900 census he's listed, which I think I have them backwards. I think it's this one is the 1900, where he's listed there. And if I look, mm, it's too small even for me here. Um, but oh yeah, yes, it is here. So he was S period O period O'Bannon in 1900. By 1910, he wasn't listed. I don't know if he left home of his own free will, died, or was killed, because we know how, in the early 1900s, to kill a Black person was not even a crime, or how frequently they were and freely that it was happening to us, our ancestors. And that goes to show that even now, getting shot down and policemen get walking and getting off, that's how they stay the same. It's just presented differently, but it's still the same thing. Lynching, police shooting, and lynchings, because I'm hearing that they actually still lynching people in 2021. Like, that's a whole nother video. Let me stop. So I got my notes so I don't get off track, because this video will be 5 hours. Anyway, and that's all I have for the ninth and 10th generation. So let's recap before moving on to what was going on in the world during their lifetime. I learned a lot, although not as much as I would have liked to. So here's a tidbit. There is a 31-year age difference between my maternal great great grandparents and my paternal great great grandparents. These are my great grandparents and their parents and then their parents. Remember earlier when I discussed that there were 32 great grandparents, and remember that of the 32, 18 were slaves and 14 were born the year of emancipation in 1865 and or later. So let's recap my paternal side, same generations. But before I click over, again, let's just look at this chart. So here we did ninth generation, and that's how it goes up the chain. This is Big Mama. Big Mama's mother, we don't know her name, so therefore we don't know who her mother and father were. But I was able to find her father's information, and then his mother and father's name, but not the eighth generation. Nothing for the eighth generation on either side. And then we have Papa George Montgomery, which is my great grandfather, my grandmother's dad. His mother's name was Catherine Montgomery. I was able to find her death certificate and her listed on some censuses, and that's how I found her mother and father, Nettie and Alec Nelson here, but we don't know her father's name. And remember, I was trying to use my fingers to show that I knew one parent's father and the other great grandparent's mother, and the mother and father were missing. I thought that was kind of weird, like. And then we have my grandfather's mother and father, right? Cuffy Simmons. His mother and father, we don't have the name of his mother and father at all. And again, I that could be because he came straight from Sierra Leone in Africa. So they wasn't really keeping records like that anyway. However, he married Lucy Barnett. If there are any Barnetts in your family, any Barnetts, share the video. Maybe some of these names will come. Maybe we're related. Hey, family, how you doing? All right, back to the video. So her parents were Jane and London. I love that name. Even in 1858, his mama was fly enough to name him London. Maybe they were from London. Things may happen for a reason. Or maybe he named himself London. You know what I'm saying? Because he liked it. Maybe there's somewhere he always wanted to go. Anyway, and again, their parents, we don't have any names for at all. So there's a lot of missing names and missing links. And that is why I wanted to do this, so that we can start somewhere and have something to give um our children and our share with our families. So let me move on to my paternal side. This is my dad's family. Many of the names of all of my greats are unknown, especially on the eighth generation, most of the ninth. And then we have some tens, but again, it's still a little sketchy on both sides. A lot of people are missing. They were for sure born and died slaves, so it's no telling what could have happened in their lives or to them. I know they say that after the fourth generation, it doesn't count with regard to being relationships or family or whatever the case is. I don't know how that really works, but um, you know it there are additional family that I have no idea who they were. Just to put into perspective is why I'm showing it this way. It makes you think about the possibility of being related to strangers that you see on the street, and may have something to do with us looking like someone we don't know. Things that make you go, And so it's not that we all look alike, it's that somehow or another we it's possible than not that we may be related. So I'm gonna have a whole nother, like I said, all the things I'm talking about now are leading to subsequent videos that I'm just gonna really dig into some of this stuff. So let's move on to what was happening in the world when they were alive. Okay, a few more slides and I'm finishing up this part 2. So here are the historical events that have occurred during their lifetime. Some of these events overlap generations, meaning some of my ancestors' ages ranged from infant to adulthood throughout these events. And if we look at the list, the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the Emancipation, the formation of the Klan, the Reconstruction era, the Civil Rights Movement, European immigration, Mexican and Caribbean immigration, World Wars One and Two. And there are many movies about these things, but I'm going to present these things from my perspective in part three. So I'll be covering all of them. And at this point, I hope you're finding this information interesting and that you will join me for part three. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so that you are notified when I upload new content. Thank you for watching. Part three is on the way. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. All right. So, hey, I'm trying my best. I'm working with what I got. I'm showing you a PowerPoint slide on Zoom actually. So, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that this was information you found it helpful, enlightening. Um, and I hope that you will stay tuned for part three. So, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video as well. Don't forget to like the videos. I said that already. Like the video, subscribe, click the notification bell. And you know what's most important? Share this across your social media. You never know. You might be related. You might be my family. What's up, family? All right, y'all. I'm out of here. Video's already too long. Thank you, and we'll see you in part three.